Although I think brotherhood and social connection is very important, I also stress the importance of alone time. And it can be even be deeper than just alone time. You could genuinely just be lonely. The concept of dealing with loneliness. Now, the first hurdle you have in dealing with loneliness is that if you don't like being alone, more than likely you just don't like yourself. You don't like the person that you're stuck in company with, which is you. Now, the only way to really get through this, one, you have to put in the time of actually spending alone time. You got to get comfortable with yourself. It's not something that's just going to happen. For me, I'm just now becoming fairly comfortable just being me. Not even just being me, but just being by myself, doing my thing. But it took a while for that. It took a long time. Although I do think that a reason that so many people struggle with being alone, I think it's pushed on you a bit, because I know when I was younger, it didn't bother me at all. I wasn't an only child, but like the household that I lived in, I was the only child for majority of my childhood. But I was super comfortable being alone, playing with Hot Wheels and shit. Uh, it made my imagination very active because I had to entertain myself. But as I grew older and as I started focusing more on other people and looking at other people's lives, me being comfortable with myself, by myself, slowly started to disappear. And I always felt like I needed someone to talk to or to express my feelings or just to hang out with. And if you want to be successful or if you want to accomplish anything of note, it's going to take a significant amount of time by yourself because you have to go through a building phase. So, one, loneliness is necessary. Now, how do we become more comfortable with being alone? You got to put in the reps. It's just like working out. You're not going to get any stronger. Like your bench press isn't going to go up if you never bench press. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to squat 405 if you never squat. Like you got to put in the work. Same thing with being alone. If you want to get comfortable, you got to put in the time. And literally, I was forced into my situation of being alone a lot. I didn't really have much choice in the matter, but it was very, very beneficial to my life. It allowed me to learn a lot about myself. Now, when you are alone, you have to make sure that you're not just constantly distracting yourself. You're not constantly on social media, playing video games, trying to find people to talk to. Like, sit with yourself, be in your own head, and figure some stuff out. I heard some good life advice. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, sit in an empty room, no phone, no TV, no entertainment. Just stare at the fucking wall. Just fucking think. Like, it's gonna require thoughts because there's a reason that you don't like yourself. And sometimes it's hard to find. It may not be as simple as, well, it probably is simple actually. More than likely, you just don't want to accept those reasons. You may feel like you aren't a deserving person. And maybe that's why you don't like being alone with yourself, because you feel inadequate. But maybe that's your mind, your subconscious telling you that you are inadequate, that you need to work, you need to build, you need to come up with some new ideas, some new thought processes. Now, this was when like journaling, meditation, all these things are good for just becoming comfortable with yourself. And it's also very helpful to stop focusing so much on other people. Like if you're constantly looking at other people's lives, it's going to be hard to focus on your own. I had a friend recently, he asked me about should he take some time away from social media. And I think that everyone should. It really like refocuses the lens of your camera back on your own life. Because your life is the only thing that really matters to you. We've all been fooled into thinking that it's normal to care so much about random people you don't even know. And I can understand if they're bringing you some value or they're helping out in your life, but most times it's just people flexing and you just watching, and it's making you feel worse about yourself, especially if you're not going through the best time period. But once you can get comfortable being by yourself, it opens up doors to becoming the best version of you. Because you're gonna have to learn you first in order to even know what your inadequacies are, know where your weaknesses are at, pinpoint them, understand them, stop running from them. A lot of people run from what they think they're shit at or their weaknesses. But you need to point them out, understand them, and then work on them. And that you're only gonna learn those things from spending the time alone, putting in the reps. And a small tip that I have for dealing with loneliness is that you think that, oh, I need all these friends, or I need people that I can hang out with or talk to, or whatever the case is, which you do need, but I think you need it a lot less than you think. What I learned is that if you're just social, it kind of dampens the feeling of being alone. It's like whenever you're out and about and you're walking down the street or you're walking into a store or you're at work, make it a conscious effort to speak to other people. It's just a reminder that like you're not the only person in this world. Everyone else has their own story. One of my friends, Kale, he told me, I remember we were sitting down, we were just having like a little talk, like a little group talk. And he said he kind of views life as a comic book. And right now, this is just a scene in his comic book or a scene in his movie, whatever you want it to be, your story, but it's just a scene. And then once I leave, my story continues. Now I have my own new set of scenes that I'm going to go through. And Kale has his own new set of scenes that he is going to be going through. And that's everyone in life. And if you're really thinking that you're feeling alone, a lot of times you're just too focused on yourself and you think that you're like the only one in this world, but like we're all going through it. We're all living lives. I'm gonna end it there. But there's nothing wrong with being alone. And you need to become more comfortable with that concept. And the only way you're gonna be more comfortable being alone is by putting in the reps, putting in the repetitions. Get comfortable with yourself. Learn to love yourself. And in order to love yourself, you gotta be a person worth loving. There's no one in your life that you just love for no fucking reason, or you respect for no reason. You're a loser. You're shit. That's why you don't like you. But accept that and change it. Stop being a fucking loser.